Hi, this is Stuart, and I want to use this video to tell you about Project 4. The fourth project we're going to do this summer will take 2 weeks rather than the usual one. I hope by the end of this video you've got a sense of what the project's about and what you may be doing in it. As we've been doing with the previous 3 projects, I want to remind you of the scenario. You're part of Open Concept Consultants. Among other things that we put on the website are tutorials, how to use particular kinds of open source software. By doing this, we demonstrate our expertise with open source software. We're constantly putting new content on the web to keep people coming back, and we hope that this recruits clients. Now, we typically create tutorials that help clients complete some set of procedures. So in this project, you're not going to write an exhaustive handout or book on how to use a particular open source software. You're going to be writing a tutorial about how to do a particular task or a particular set of things within a particular program. So the product ultimately will be a written tutorial that will help readers complete a discrete set of procedures in an open source program. We're going to do this for several reasons. One is you need to learn to analyze sets of tasks. This is very common for tech writers, as I'll show you a little more in a minute. One of the most challenging kinds of writing that tech writers have to do, and most traditional, is writing procedures, tasks, and steps. So we'll talk about how you do that. Also, this is an opportunity to talk about testing written procedures with others, making sure you know that your procedures work well. So let me take a few minutes and, kind of as an aside, talk about why this is so significant. Procedures are probably the most significant genre that you're going to write this semester, and I want to explain why a little bit. A main reason why they're significant is one of the primary things that technical writers do is they accommodate technology to the user. That is, they help a user use a particular technology that they may not be able to use without some help. Now, it used to be, when we had things like simple hammers, you don't really need documentation on how to use a hammer. It's pretty self-explanatory. Once a grown-up shows a child how to use a hammer once, it's pretty much lesson learned. But we've now created other more sophisticated kinds of hammers, or cousins to hammers. And these things are not nearly as straightforward as just a regular old hammer. Nail guns, for example, can be quite dangerous, and thus groups like the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, begins to worry about things like nail gun safety, and they write documentation for contractors. Now, the same problem happens with software. The more complex software gets, the more powerful it gets, the more it may be, a user may need a little bit of tutorial to make it work. This, for example, I just actually pulled this off the web. It looked complicated enough. It looks like some kind of database software, perhaps designed for maintaining things like zoos and farms, maintaining a track of livestock. Now, of course, in professional writing, the same problem can occur. This is an interface from Dreamweaver for developing web pages. As you can see, there are multiple windows in it, so it's just not clear right off the bat how this works. And again, readers need help. They need a technical writer oftentimes to help them accommodate themselves, learn how to make that technology works. As a result of this, instructions are the second most often written type of document for people in technical and professional writing. This comes from a survey I've mentioned before, where we asked them, what kind of writing do you do? Instructions and manuals, and I would include tutorials in this, were the second most often written. and also the second most valued. So the people wrote these and they knew these documents were important to their professions, so they valued them as well. So here's a quick timeline. The first week is essentially going to be focused on analyzing a particular task that you want to document, setting a good plan for finishing this project, and I hope by the end of the week you have perhaps a bit of draft tutorial put together, but also a very clear plan of how the next week is going to go, of how you're going to carry out your project. In the second week, we'll talk about designing your instructions and testing your instructions over the course of the week, and submitting a tutorial and an evaluation report, which is about, we'll talk about it further, but it's about the kind of results you got from testing. As with the past two projects, criteria will be based in part on the discussions we have and what comes up as important standards. So I hope this gives you a decent sense, a decent overview of what Project 4 is about. If you have questions, contact me. Email's always best. We'll of course be doing things day to day that I hope will make the project clearer and manageable in smaller chunks. Hope you have a good week and be in contact soon.